I'm audible to everyone. Hello, I'm audible.
Yes, Abhishek.
Okay. So today's class we will talk about the architecture of the SQL Server. So let me first give you the brief overview of the architecture, and after that we will discuss the each point. So if you are getting any doubt, please note down on the notepad, and you can ask when we are discussing the each point. Right? Please don't interrupt in the middle. So SQL Server architecture is basically divided into three parts. So we have three layers is there in the SQL Server architecture. The first one is the protocol layer, second is the relational engine, and third is the storage engine. So let's talk about each part step by step. So this part is the protocol layer, right? This complete part, you can call this complete part as a, this complete part is a server side. And this part, SQL Server network interface, this is the client side. This is also a part of the server side, and this is the client side. So what is happening? Suppose a user fire a query. So if any user is firing a query, what will happen? The SQL Server, the protocol layer, this protocol layer will take the query from the SQL Server network interface. We are calling this as a SNI. SNI exists on the both side. This exists on the client side also, and this exists on the server side also. So what will happen if user fire a query? The protocol layer takes the query from the SNI in the form of TDS. So what is TDS? TDS is nothing. It's a tabular data stream. So the data is transferred in the form of TDS packets to the protocol layer. So what will happen in the protocol layer? Here protocol layer, the data will be unencrypted. So here you will get the actual query. In the protocol layer, you will get the actual query. So what will happen after that? From the protocol layer, it will move to the CMD parser with the help of the language event. So what will happen in the CMD parser? So in the CMD parser, we will have two checks will be there. So in the CMD parser, we will have two checks. Syntactic checks is there and the semantic check is there. So what does the syntactic checks means? So basically syntactic checks is going to check the grammatical errors. For example, suppose I'm putting here select a star from where ID is equal to 1. So can anyone tell me that what is the missing in this select command? What is missing?
From the table name also. The table name.
Yes, right. Table name is missing. So here we'll select a star from. Here we need to put the table name. So this is missing in this select command. So this is the syntactic error. So the CMD parser will check for the syntactic error just like the missing keyword is there, incorrect clause order is there. This will check.
If you give a wrong table name, then
Yes, the same checks will be there in the syntactic checks. And after that, just like the unbalanced parenthesis there, suppose you are running the select command here and you are putting the bracket here, but you are not putting the bracket, you are not closing the bracket, then it will again throw an error, syntactic error, and it will not move further. So this is the syntactic errors. And there will be one more checks is there, semantic errors is there. So what does semantic error means? So it's, for example, just we are selecting, I am selecting select name from, uh, let me, so it will be easy for you to understand. Select a star, select name from employee. But what is happening here? The employee table does not exist here. Suppose you are writing, suppose employee table is not in our database, right? And we are running a select command, select name from employee. So this will be the semantic check. If it is, If our table is not exist, then again this will come under the semantic errors and it will throw an error and the query will not move forward, right? And what another is what data mismatch type. We have multiple data types is there. So if I'm running select a star from employee where ID, so ID should be the numeric, right? ID should be the numeric, but here it is putting as a alphabet ABC, then again it will throw an error that ID is integer column, but a string is being used in the place of integer. So it will throw the error. The same error would come in the semantic error. So these two errors, it will get checked in the where it will get checked. Syntactic and semantic error where it will be checked. Any answer?
Protocol layer.
No, it will be checked in the CMD part, sir. See, from the
Okay.
protocol layer, once the query, how query will move. User fire, suppose I am firing one query. What will happen? The protocol layer will text from the SNI. On the client side, SNI is there. Protocol layer takes this query from the SNI and in the form of TDS. So what is TDS? Tabular data stream. It was developed by the Sybase, but later it was taken by the Microsoft. So in the form of TDS packet, it will move, it will be in the protocol layer. Here data will be unencrypted. So what does unencrypted means? That here we will get the actual query. From the protocol layer, it will move to the relational engine. So first where it will move? It will move to the CMD parser. In the CMD part, what we have two checks. Is there what two checks are there? Can anyone tell me?
Semantic check
Semantic or
and
syntactic?
Semantic and
Yes,
synthetic.
yes. So once this is completed, CMD parser is the we have the two checks is there. So what semantic checks will do?
check the
Semantic check.
Yes, yes.
queries and all.
It will check about whether the suppose if we are running in a table, the table is table exists or not. It will check for the data types also, right? So after that, what will happen? Just a minute. It will the syntactic and semantic error will be there. Then what will happen? Then query tree will be created. Just a minute. So now the next step is the see. Now there will be creation of the query tree. So what will happen in the query tree? Multiple execution trees are generated. Fine. So what will happen? These all tree represent a different way of the query to get executed, but our result will remain the they are designed to they are multiple execution tree will be generated, but their result will remain the same, right? See here the query tree, and after that with the help of query it will move to the optimizer. So what will happen in the optimizer?
Oh, I
Query,
have a one doubt in protocol layer.
yes, yes.
So like we use certificate like in the SQL Server as well as TD database encryption you are using.
This is something different. This is not about the architecture part. This is
Okay.
completely different.
Because we are like apply that all that information in that protocol
See,
layer as well.
this is completely different things we will cover in the day-to-day activity. As of now, we are going with architecture. Don't miss everything with architecture. You all will get confused.
Okay.
Okay. So tree will be the query tree will be created. So we will have multiple query tree, but the result will remain the same. After that, what will happen? Where it will move? It will move to the query optimizer, right?
Yes.
So what will happen in the query optimizer? So in the query optimizer will identify the most efficient way to execute the query. Just like that, how much CPU it is going to use, what is the input output operations, what is the memory requirement for the possible execution plans. These all are going to checks in the query optimizer. For example, suppose I am running one. Yes, for example, this example is already here mentioned here. See, suppose we are using index to fetch the rows from the department. So any idea about what is the index? So index you can simply call when you are opening the books, we are getting some content here that chapter 1, this is in the 12 page number. Chapter 3 is in the 1921 page number. So it is if I move to the chapter 4 and this is the 25, if I put the 25 number directly, it will move to the 4, right? Getting my point about the index? Let me explain you again.
It is a metadata kind of thing.
No. Let me see. You are using the books, right? You are using your books. So what is there in the one index page is there in the book? Suppose first chapter is matter in our surroundings. So here it will put the page number that this is starting from the page number 7. See, suppose our second step is there, chemical reaction. So again there one will be some page will be marked in it that chemical reaction chapter is starting from the page number 19, right? So just like all the chapter, our chapter name will be there, and we will have there will be some page marked with this, right? So what will happen? Suppose if you want to go to this chapter, suppose there is one third chapter is also there, fourth chapter is also there. This is on the 25 page number. This is on the 32 page number. So if index is there, if you want to go to the chapter 3, you can easily go to the index and check from where it is starting 25. So this will we can directly point to the 25 page number, right? If it is the we want to search for the 4, we can directly check the index that chapter 4 is starting from the 32 and we can go to 32. We want to go to the chapter second, then we can directly see the index and yes, this is on the 19 page number and we can directly move, right? Getting my point? So what this index do? This index becomes makes our life easy that we can simply go to the 19 page. If I want to go to the chapter 2, I will simply open the 19 page. Suppose if index is not there, so what will happen? You need to manually go to the index. You need to manually go with the page by page and need to search that on which page number the chemical reaction chapter is going to start. On from which page number chapter 3 is going to be a start. On which page number chapter 4 is going to be a start, right? So same things is there is also on the suppose our index is not there, then this is what we will do. If index is not there, what we will do? Suppose I want to go with the third chapter. We will suppose fifth is also there, sixth is also there, seventh chapter is also there. Just like if I want to do go with the fifth, so what will need to you need to do the full scan of this complete book,
Yes.
right? You need to do the complete scan of the book, right?
Right.
Then
Yeah,
out
correct.
then only we will get to the fifth number. So this we are calling as a full table scan. So this is the full table scan. So this scan is going to take time, right? This scan is going to take time. Suppose if I'm talking about the SQL, then it will take some memory. It will take some CPU, right?
Yeah.
So if you are fetching the table and if it is going to do the full table scan, then this is going to take more memory, more CPU, and time also, right? But suppose we have indexes there. Now I want to go to the page number chapter 5 and this is on the 95 page number. I can directly go to the 95 page number. It will take less time, very less time.
Yeah.
Right? So same example is also there. Suppose we want to fetch a rows from the department where department is equal to finance. So if index is already there, it will be easy to the fetch, right? If index is not there, so what it will do? It will do the full table scan if index is not available.
So like without index, query will be in hung state also. It can be in hung state.
What?
Without index, query can be in hung state. A query
No,
can
no, no.
be.
We can run the query also without index also. See, because we can create we have cluster and cluster index. Later we will get to know about the don't get deep in that part. So as of now, if index is not there, suppose this is my book. This is contains only 7 chapters. This does not contain millions of chapter. So we can paste the record. Now, if it is millions of chapter is there, then it will not easy for you to search the chapter if index is not there, right? But if only
Yes,
six chapter is there and we have 120 page, so you can easily search,
yeah,
na? You can search. So
yeah,
same.
but it will take time. It will take time
Yes,
until we
right.
search.
Yes. If millions
It
record is there, then it is not possible for you to search. But if 120 pages only that you can search now, right now. Same thing is also there. If the data is less, the query will run. The query will not go to the hung state. If we
Hmm.
have less data, so
Hmm.
it will search, but it will take time. But if index is already there, it will take very less time,
Okay.
right? So it will
Depends
define.
upon the data.
So what optimizer will do? It will identify the most efficient way. Suppose our index is also there. Index is also there. So and now suppose if this concept was not there, full table scan is also there. So suppose it is going to do the full table scan. So what will happen? Our more CPU will be consumed. So they are going to create the most efficient way to execute. Yes, these two are the possible ways of the executions, and this will identify this. Yeah, we have index, so we will run this query with the help of the index, and it will be less cost consuming, less memory, less it will take. So these all are going to be do in the optimizer. Getting my point?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So index work like a pointer that refers some the data.
We will, as of now, what I have told you, you need to remember only these parts. If you go deep in that part, we will get confused more. So index, just like the books, what we have, this is the index.
Mhm.
And what we are doing, we are pointing a chapter to a specific page. The same things is also there in the SQL Server also.
Yeah, yeah, got it, got
So we will cover more when we are going to do with the performance tuning, that what is the cluster and uncluster index. So this is the completely different things. So as of now, remember this part only, right? Any doubt as of
it.
now? So we have
No,
different
that's fine.
the different steps is there. So once we will discuss the architecture part, so we will cover about what the all these steps are there. So let me go. So we have covered the optimizer. So after that optimizer, where it will move? It will move to the query executor. One query optimizer, what optimizer will do? What optimizer will do?
Optimizer will uh, use for
It will create a
using
Most
less
execution.
memory.
It will
efficient
create,
way, most efficient way to run the query while
yes, it
getting
will,
use.
create the execution plan. The best execution plan, this is going to be create optimizer. So what query executor will do? The query executor task is very simple. It's execute the query according to the chosen execution plan. What we have chosen, suppose index is there and full table scan is there. So two ways is there, right? Full table scan is also there. So we have chosen optimizer chooses, yes, we will go with the index. Then the query executor will execute that query according to the chosen execution plan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now what will happen after that? It will from the query executor, it will move to the access method. So just a minute. So access method, it will from the query executor, it will move to the access method. So this is the part of the storage third engine. This is the part of the storage engine. See, now it will move to the access method. So what is the task of the access method? The first task of the access method is to identify that whether it is the select query or non-select query. See, so what access method will do? The first task of the access method, see, from the query executor, it will move to the access method, right? So what will the task of the access method? The access method of task is to first task is to determine whether the query is a select query or which query? non-select if it is a select
Non-select.
statement or non-select statement. So what this is going to, if suppose if it is the select statement, okay, so if it is a selected statement, what it will do, it will pass the query to the buffer manager for the further processing, right? Let me go you the diagram. See what will happen if it is the select query, then it will move to the buffer manager. And what will happen in the buffer manager, there will be checks that whether that it is there in the buffer or not. If it is in the buffer, then it will take the data from the buffer, and again this will move the same path again going with this path, and it will move to the SQL Server network interface. If it is not there in the buffer manager, suppose our data is not there in the buffer manager, so what it will do, it is going to fetch the data from the data file. Again this will follow the same method. Again if this will move from buffer manager like this is going to moved. So if it is, what will happen, if it is the select query, it will move to the buffer manager for the further processing. And if it is in the buffer, if it if it is in the buffer, then it will phase that, it will take the data from the buffer, and after that it will move, it will follow the same path, and it will move back to the user. And if it is not in the buffer, so what will happen, it will fetch the data from the where buffer, it will fetch the data from the data file. If it is not there in the buffer, then it will fetch the data from the data file. But suppose if our query is the non-select query, suppose we are running a update queries there, so what will happen, it will be forwarded to the, it will not go to the buffer manager. So where it will not go to, if it is non-select query, if it is select, it will go to the buffer manager. If it is non-select query, it is go to the transaction manager. Getting my point? Hello?
Yes.
So what will happen? It will, if it is non-select query, then it will move to the transaction manager. So what will happen in the transaction manager? In transaction manager, it will provide one log to the query and assign one LSN. So what does LSN means? Log sequence number. This is going to be assigned when the query move to the transaction manager. Right. So after that, what will happen? See, we have two things is there. How data is going to be fetched. So there is just a minute. So anyone have idea about the dirty page? What is dirty page?
Dirty page was like
See, dirty page is nothing. So what is the dirty page? The page that has been modified to the memory, but yet it is not written to the disk. It is still in the memory, right? It is still there in the memory, but it has not been written to the disk yet, right?
yes.
Like it's in the instance only, it is not in the database.
Yes, this is in the exist only on the memory level. This is not on the it haven't moved to the disk,
Okay.
right? So we have buffer manager is also there, na? See here the buffer manager is there. So let me see, if it is a non-select query, it will go to the buffer manager. If it is a non-select query, it is go to the transaction manager. This point is clear.
Sorry, say again.
See, if the query is the select, it will move to the buffer manager. If it is an
Hmm.
unselect query, it will move to transaction manager. From the query
Yeah.
executor, it will move to the access method. And if it is a select query, it will go to the buffer manager. If it is non-select query, that will go to the transaction manager.
Okay. So buffer manager decide where query will go.
Access
Why
methods.
why buffer manager will decide?
Sorry, access method. Sorry.
Yes, access method will decide that where the query will go.
Executor.
what will happen in the buffer manager? So what is buffer manager? Nothing. We can say that it is a pool to store the data temporarily, where the data is temporarily stored. Suppose if you are going with any website, then some cache is there. A cache is going to be saved. So what this is going to happen? This will make your experience smoother when we are loading any page. And if you are going again with that page, then it will be easy for the page is going to be load very easily because cache is already there. The same thing is also there in the SQL memory. So in the buffer pool, the data is stored temporarily so that it can be easily fetched. It will not fetched from the see if it in the buffer pool, buffer manager is there. We have buffer pool here is there. So what will happen? The data is here temporarily stored so that we are we don't require to move the data from every time from the data file, because if you need to fetch the from the data file, it will take some times and there will be some performance issue. So but if we are going to fetch from the buffer pool, memory is there, then it will be easy, right?
So is the temp DB that database we have in system?
This is something different.
Okay, this is different. Okay.
So what will happen in the buffer manager? A buffer manager is there. So we have caching of data is there in the is happening in the buffer manager.
Okay.
So what there this is going to do? Generally, this stores data in the memory. When suppose when we are running some query, select query, and this is not there in the buffer manager, it will move to the data file. Again, this will move back to the buffer manager. So it is going to store that information. Suppose I run one select query, select star from imply, right? So it will check in the buffer. Suppose if it is already there in the buffer, then it's fine. If it is not there in the buffer, it will fetch the data from the data
Data
file,
file.
and again it will move to the buffer. So what buffer manager will do? The buffer manager will temporarily store this data in the buffer pool, right? So that if any again we are running the query, select star from the employee, then it's not need to again fetch the data from the data file. This will exit in the buffer pool and it will fetch the data from the buffer pool easily, and there will be no performance impact, right? But see, so in the buffer manager, we have two approaches is there, right? So what does two approaches means? Buffer cache, we are calling this as a soft parsing, and data storage we are calling is as a hard parsing. So what does these all two means? See, if the data is already there in the data cache, it is directly going to use that. It will directly used by the query executor. So this we are calling it as a buffer cache or soft parsing. If data is not there, if data is not there in the cache, so what it will do? It will move to the disk, right? And then it will fetch the data. Getting my point?
From data file. Huh?
Yes, data file from the it is going to, if it is not there in the cache, then it will move to the data file. It is going to fetch the data, and this
Mhm.
data this is going to use, this is also after that it is also going to be stored in the data cache for the further processing if we are again running that query. Getting my
Okay.
point? See, SQL's
Yes.
architecture is something complicated, so you need to be focused, and you need to, once you are going, everything is there in the slide. So if you are going with the slide one by one, the things will get very easy. As of now, what if I'm moving forward, we will forget the things before what I have taught you. But once you go with the slide one to two times, then it will be very easier for you to understand that what is the SQL Server architecture. Fine. So buffer, what will happen in the buffer manager? Data parsing will be there. So there will be two things will be there. The buffer cache will be there. Soft parsing will be there and hard parsing will be there. Right? If the data is already there in the plan cache, data cache, then we are calling this as a soft parsing. If it is not there in the plan cache, it is going to fetch the data from the data file. Then we are calling this as a, what we are calling this, hard parsing.
Hard parsing.
So when it is when it fetches the data from the data file, this also store the data in the data cache for the, suppose if you are running the query next time, then this is again not going to use from the data file, and this will take the data from the data cache for the performance, so that it can improve the performance. If you are fetching the data from the data file, this is going to take the memory CPU mode, memory mode CPU. This is going to if this is already exist in the data file, then it will be very easy, and there will be no performance issue. Right? This is clear about the soft parsing and hard parsing.
Yes, yes.
So now next we have the basics, what functions of the sorry, yes. There is one more thing, is that dirty page is there. If you see here, let me go with the 72. Dirty page is there here, right? So what is dirty
Yes.
page? What does dirty page means? The page which is there in the, which has been modified in the memory, but still this is not in written to the disk. This data is not in the disk, right? This data is not in the disk, but this still exists on the memory. Getting my point? This data
Yes,
is not in the disk. This data is not in the data file, but this is exist
yes.
on the memory level. This is going to be exist. So when the dirty page is going to be flushed, when the dirty page is going to move to the data file, so there is one process which is known as the checkpoint process. Checkpoint process is running on the SQL Server, and once the checkpoint process is run, all the dirty pages are moved to the disk, right? So
One
what?
is lazy writer is also you use this one, no? Plus the dirty page.
Yes, right. We will talk about that part also. LR, lazy writer, difference between all these things we will cover. Nothing to worry. As of now, just focused what I'm explaining, the because you might be the experienced one, but other is not the one same as on your level. So this will be easier for you everyone to understand the session, right? So what will happen? What will happen? Checkpoint will run, and checkpoint, what checkpoint is going to do? It will flush all the data from the dirty page back to the disk, right? And there is one more question is there. Suppose, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
See, there is one more question is there. So see, suppose upper the uh, execution plan, everything that exists on the memory, and this is very easy for the SQL Server to fetch the data. So suppose there will be some capacity will be there, right? There will be some capacity on the memory part also. So
Right.
SQL Server, suppose multiple execution plan are there. Everything is there in the everything is stored. So there will be some limitation will be there, some storage limitation will be there. So the SQL Server use the LRU. So what does LRU means? List recently used. Those plans which are recently used, this will be automatically flushed from the memory, right? But there is limitation, na? There is limitation of the memory also. So if we are going to store everything on the memory, it will get a pressure. So SQL Server use the LRU. This is one of the interview question also. So what LRU? Those recently used, list recently used, those which are recently used, these are going to be flushed from the memory part. Fine. And buffer, if buffer management is nothing, the maintaining a pool of the free buffer for the for storing database when they needed. So this is one of the interview question they are going to be asked in the interview, that how this memory is going to be managed. Suppose we have very pressure is going to be created on the memory, how this is going to be managed by the SQL Server. So what your answer will be that SQL Server use the LRU, list recently used, those which are recently used will be automatically flushed from the memory, right?
So it is a part of the checkpoint process or like,
No, this is something different. These are the algorithm of the SQL Microsoft, and this is completely decided by the Microsoft only. This is the Microsoft algorithm.
okay.
So the which are used less recently will be automatically flushed, and those which are the most used will exist on the memory level. So I told you one thing, that when if it is non-select, so this part is completed. So when we have non-select queries there, so it will move to the transaction manager, and then in transaction manager, what will happen? In the transaction manager, what will happen? There will be one lock will be created on the lock will be created on that query, and it will assign one LSN number, log sequence number, right? This is the task of the log manager. And after that, what will happen? It will move to the transaction log, getting more fine. And this will in the transaction log, it will move to the transaction log, and again it will follow the same process. It will move here, it will move here. From there, it will go to the same process. This is going to used. Right? Now when here you see the two things is there. Transaction log is there and data file is there. Right? We have two things is there. Data file is there. Data, this is also part of storage architecture is there. So we have two things is there. Data files is there. This is the data file. This is the data file, and this is the transaction log. So let me discuss about this part. So what is the data file? So data file is nothing that basically the SQL Server store data in the data file, right? All the data which is there in the, this is going to be stored in the data file. So let me once log into the server and let me show you. So let me go back to the SQL Server and let me show you what is the, where is the data file. So if I expand database, suppose if I'm going to this part, I'm clicking on the task, I'm going on the string, I'm going on the files. So see here, we will see that two data is there, data file is there and log file is there. From here, you can also check the size of the, how much is the size of the data file. So this is the 200 MB is the size of the data file, and how much is the free space
Is it
as of now.
from where? So from where have you opened this like Adventure Works?
This is the database. See, I logged into the
Okay.
server, right?
Yes.
Let me just refresh this again. So I log in and this interface will come, expand the
Okay.
database, and this is the database I stored. So if we will talk about the restore part later when we go with the backup and restore. So this is the Azure phone, one database is there. So how to check?
Mhm.
Two ways are there. So check, go to the task, go to the string, go to the files. Now here you will say two things is there, data file is there and log file is there. So how much is the size of the data file? Currently we have 200 MB data file is there, and how much is the free space? This is there. You can also check the location here, that from where location of data files exist. And there is one more file, log file is also there. So how much is the size of log file? 22. This is the location of the log file, and this is the available free space. So you can check here, and you can also go in the properties, files. See here we have two things is there. See, just a minute.
And if we want to change the size of the data files, then is it possible from
Why to change the size of the data file?
no, if there is it need to be changed, na, the data need to be stored more.
I will show you how this is going to be managed. See, we have two files is there, and this one is the,
Yes.
this one is the data file, and this will contain, let me expand this also. See, this is this first in our data file, and file type is the rows data, and second one is our log file. This is our the log file. This is the size, that how much is the size. This is the MB, that this is the size of the log file, and this is the size of the data file. So how data is going to be. So before moving forward, let me show you two things. See, in the data file we have, see, if I talk about the data file, we have primary data file, and we have primary and secondary data file. So how you will get to know that it is the primary and this is the secondary? With the help of the extension only, you can easily identify. So what is the extension of the primary MDF, primary data file? MDF.
Okay.
And what is the extension of the secondary data file? NDF. You can also, we are also calling this as a NDF, new data file. Next data file. And this also as next data file. MDF, master data file, right? And we have one more log file is there, right? Log file is also there. So what is the extension of log file? LDF. So this is the extension of the data file. So we can see, we can have multiple NDF, right? We can have multiple NDF, but we can have only one MDF. Only one MDF will be there, and we can create the secondary also. So we can have more than one NDF also, but MDF we will have only one. Only one MDF will be there. Only one MDF file will be there, right? And we can have multiple and multiple NDF file as per the requirement we can create, right?
Yeah, and Abhishek, does MDF they gets created while creating the database itself?
Yes, I will show you. Nothing to worry. So this is clear that we have primary data file is there and the secondary data file is there. So extension of the primary data file is the MDF and the secondary data file is the NDF, and extension of the log file is the LDF, right? See, now we are here. So what will happen? Let me cancel this. Let me create one database first. I will click on this, click on the new database. You can also create with the query. I'm showing you how to create. So I'm putting here the database. Tell me any name. So
Khan.
this is Akars. See, we have created one database as a Akars Khan. So what will happen? I put the database name here. Options is there. So you can also set the recovery. We will not talk about this part, what recovery model is there when we are going to do the backup and restore. So nothing to worry. Primary, this is the file group. This is the primary file group. We can also create the another file group. So let me script out this. You can directly also click on the OK, and you can also script this and you can also run this. So now I see this is the complete script. of the creation of the one. So let me going to execute this. Now let me refresh my database. Let me expand this. See, Akash Khan is there, right? So let me go to the properties. If I'm going to the files, see, this is the data file and this is the log file. So let me check the extension of this file. See, this is the MDF, this is the LDF. Are you able to see anywhere LDF file? No. So when the database is created, two files is created. One is the primary data file and extension is the MDF, and one log file will created, extension is the LDF. We can add
And
the secondary data file as per our requirement, right?
log also can be added, or
We can also add the logs, but when the
MDF file?
we can't add the primary will be the only ones, and we can
Yes, yes.
add the secondary data file as a NDF.
Okay.
We can also add multiple log file, but as of now, see, before earlier the storage was very costly. So at the time we were maintaining the multiple log files. So as of now the storage is cheap. So we're having only one data file, log file, but you can add the uh, uh, multiple log file also. So when we are creating one database, two file is created, MDF file is created, and LDF file is created. So, and this is the size of the database. This is the size. So, and this is the complete path where the my data file is going to be stored, right? If we'll go here, see, this is the path. So I will go to this PC, see program files. Where is SQL Server? Now this one, MS SQL data. See, here we have, see, this is the, if I expand this, see, this database I have created. So this is the primary data file you can see here, and this is the transaction log file, right? You can also check from the path. So it will see, it will, if you show the types, it will show the SQL Server database primary data file. If it is transaction log, it will show the SQL Server database transaction log file, right? So let me add one more data file to this. So how you can add one more data file? Click on add,
Correct.
give name here,
Raghavendra.
click OK. Now let me go here, properties. आगे जो करना करना मैं छोड़ दे So what I have done, I have created one more data file. So one more data file is created.
Why it is showing as a primary only? File group is primary, Abhishek. Yeah,
See,
Abhishek, one question I have, that why it is added in the primary file group only?
this
Okay,
this
it
is
will be
this
fine.
is the this is the one file group is there. So this is added to the. We can also have the multiple file groups. So as of now, we have only one file group. So primary, this is going
Yeah.
to add it in the primary. So we have created one more data file. So if you check here, if you expand the file type, so it will show the data. This is the part of the primary file group. This is the complete size, and this is the complete path where this is going to store. So let me go to the same path and refresh this.
Okay.
Where it is? See here we have. See, in the environment, we are following some naming convention. We are not taking anyone names, right? So to make this session fun, I have taken the word names you have told. But in the environment, we are following one naming convention. So we are following the same things. So this is the, see, you can see here the SQL Server database secondary data file, right? And this is our the primary data file. You can also check from the same. Let me go back to this. If I expand this, then you can see the extension as a LDF, NDF new data file or the next data file, right? This is clear. So what will happen? So your question was that how we can to increase the storage size of the data file, right? Whose question was how to increase the space of the data file?
Yeah, mine.
Okay, so what will happen in SQL Server? We have auto growth mechanisms is there. So what? Let me click on this part. So what is happening? This is going to auto growth the data file when it is required. This is going to auto growth the data by 64 MB. And till how much? This is going to be unlimited size. So let me show you. Let me click on this. So what will happen? See, auto growth is automatically enabled. So if it is required, then if you want to give here the more as per our requirement, we can increase this. Suppose I'm putting here 1024. And what does the maximum file size limit? Why we are making as unlimited? Because if we are inserting millions of data, then if it is not unlimited, then there will be issue. So we are making this as unlimited. So what does unlimited means here? Till this the capacity of our
This
drive.
group,
How much is the
this group,
capacity? How much is the capacity of our drive? Till that only it will work, right?
C drive only, that it is
Yes,
storing that.
unlimited. It will not. Yes, unlimited is there. So till the unlimited we can use for the data file till the space in our drive. This will work, and this will be. Let me click OK. This will be automatically incremented by 1024 MB. So when we are,
Okay.
this is the, when we are in the production environment, we are making this as a unlimited data file. And what will happen? We are putting some locks because the locks is going to be reusable in nature. What will happen? We have locks is there. So logs when checkpoint run, this is going to be moved to the data file and the log file will be released,
Okay.
right?
And one more question, Abhishek. Yeah, one more question is that by 1024 MB, does that mean that first 1024 will be allocated, and then once it is completed, then
See, see,
again.
see, see, 8 MB is there. When we are
Yes,
inserting the
yes.
data, suppose we are inserting some data in the data file and more
Hmm.
space is required. So suppose we only 8 MB is there, more space is required. So it will automatically add in chunks. 1024 it will add in the chunks.
But okay, means first 1024, then second 1024. If
Yes,
still if
yes,
only 1 MB is required, then it will allocate the 1024 after
yes, right,
extension, right?
right, 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 right. This is going to be allocated in the chunks of the chunks of 1024. This is going to automatically incremented. See, this is 64 MB, so this will be incremented in the chunks. It is required, it will move to the 64 plus 8, 72. Again 64, this is going to add as per the requirement, right? So one thing was there, I forget what was that. Okay, fine. So this was about the data file and the log file. See, yes, I was about to show you the log file part, log file. Where is log file, log file, log file? You see, and this is the log now. This is the size of 8192 MB. So see what is happening in as of now. I have only one drive is there, C drive is there. So I'm managing everything in the C drive. right? But in the environment, we will have multiple drives there. D drive, E drive, G drive, right? So we will have, as per the environment to environment, we are following some convention that yeah, data file will be in the E drive, log file will be in the G drive. So it will depend from the environment to environment that which environment we are. So as per the convention, naming convention, we are going to use. So suppose this might is going data file is might be going to be stored in the G drive, E drive, or the log file is going to be stored in the G drive. So what will happen once the log is increased? This will take the space, right? This is going to also take the space, right? Getting my point?
Correct. Yes, yes.
Yes.
So when the log from the data from the log is moved to the data file, so the log file will be space will be released and we will have ample amount of space on the log file. Why? Because log file is reusable in nature. Once the data is moved from the log file to data file, the log drive will be what my once data is moved to the log to data file, what happened to the log file, log folder or log drive? Space will be automatically released. Suppose my drive is log drive is um, let me show you here. See, I'm giving, suppose my log file is there in the G folder, right? My log file is stored in the G folder and my data file is stored in the E folder. So suppose my current, this is the 199 GB and this is the, suppose as of now we have 150 GB of log file is occupied, right? So what will happen when the data is going to move from the data file to log file? This data is going to move from the data file to log file and this space will be released. And again, it will move to the 190 GB once the data file is going to move from the log file to the data file. Getting my point? So
Yes,
log
yes.
drive is the reusable in nature. That's why we are not putting this as a unlimited. This is reusable. Once the data is moved from the log file to data file, the log drive will be free, right? If you have any doubt, you can ask. This was the complete architecture for the SQL Server. So what is your task for the next class? That this PPT is
One thing, Abhishek, if it is moved to another drive, so what happens to the where the log is going to be generated or stored? Logs are getting stored then, because in the database itself that it is mentioned that like C drive or the older path will be there. So will that be written over there only, or new log file will be generated on the on the that parent folder, the previous folder, previous drive only?
1 TB file is there, right? Suppose as of now, my data size is 180 GB.
Yes.
199 GB is the size of my log drive. Log drive is my G drive, suppose, right? Here the log file is stored in the G drive. Suppose as of now, my log drive size is 20 GB, right?
Yeah.
So how much is the remaining? 180 GB, near about, right?
Yes.
Checkpoint run, and this all data is going to move to the data file E drive. Again, the space will be released. This 20 GB will be released once the checkpoint is done. And again, this will be in the new capacity. All the data G log will be 199 GB. Again, the data came here. Again, the data came in the log drive. Suppose 40 GB data came in the log drive. Again, the checkpoint run. So 40 GB in the log drive. Now, how much? Free space is there. 160 GB is there. Again, the checkpoint runs and all the data is moved to the data file. So again, it will occupy the 199 GB. So what will happen here? We have 180 GB, 20 GB of data moved. Again, it will move becomes 200 GB. Again, 40 GB data moved. Again, it will become to 40 GB. The data file size will be go kept on increasing. Fine. Yes. So let me stop the recording of the session. So before starting, see, so what is your task for the next class? So you need to go with the slide will be there on the shared path. This complete slide will be there on the shared path. So what you need to do, you need to download this. The slide, see, there are too many of things to covered. You need to go with the everything is there in the, you will not find this much of content anywhere. So this was about the basics. So in the next class, we will go in the depth of this part also. That suppose query optimizer is there. So there are three phase of the query optimization is there. Phase one, phase zero, phase one, phase two. So this we will have in the next class discussion. So before the next class discussion, make sure that you go with this complete slide of the architecture part. And this will have in the next class. This was the basics that how the data is going to move, how if you are running any query, this is going to be moved. So this was the basics. So in the next class, we will go with this PPT one by one. And suppose in the optimizer, we have three phases there. Phase zero, phase one, phase two is there. So we will go with this all this part, how this data is going to be processed, what is the flow of the relation engine. So before moving further, I have taught you about the basic architecture of the SQL Server. So what you need to do, see, 60% is complete, 70% is completed. Only 30% is we need to discuss more in the depth. 30% the theoretical part is there. So what is the use of the transaction log index page? So basics we have covered. In the next class, we will talk about more about this. The what is workflow, how workflow of the storage engine workflow. So these all we are going to cover in the next class, but make sure you are going with this the complete slides, because in the starting I will ask you the questions, then only we can proceed further. So make sure that you are in the position to answer my questions. So the questions will be there from this class only, nothing extra will be asked. Go with the slide once or two times, go with the recording sessions once or twice, and they can come prepared in the next class. If you are prepared only, then only come in the next class, because this is we have started the DBA part now. Right from the here the DBA part as before this part